What if you could take two dams, one higher, the other lower, connect them through an underground tunnel that plunges 2,000 feet or 600 meters beneath the earth, powers 6 reversible turbines in an 800-foot, 250-meter power plant underground, and can then send the water upstream, creating a practically infinite power generator that can run for 150 years? Well, that's exactly what Snowy Hydro 2.0 is trying to do, and they'll power 3 million homes in the process. However, environmentalists hate this dam. So let's discuss it in today's episode of Built Up. This is Tantangara Concrete Gravity Dam, built on the Murrumbidgee River in the snowy mountains of New South Wales, Australia. The dam is just a few dozen kilometres away from the Talbingo Dam, built on the Tumut River in the snowy mountains of New South Wales. These two dams were part of the Snowy Mountains scheme, whose construction began in 1949. By 1972, under the supervision of Chief Engineer Sir William Hudson, Australia built one of the country's largest hydroelectricity and irrigation complexes. The scheme encompasses 16 dams, 9 power stations, 2 pumping stations, and about 140 miles or 225 kilometres of tunnels and pipelines built between them. The hydroelectric power plants in the Snowy Mountains scheme are now operated by Snowy Hydro, an Australian energy company that supplies 1 million Australian homes and businesses with electricity. They're the 4th largest seller of energy in Australia, with a generation capacity of 5.5 megawatts, and now they're trying to expand. Seeing how the Tantangara and Talbingo dams were not connected underwater, they decided to undertake one of the largest hydroelectric construction projects in Australia today. Snowy 2.0 will expand on the old Snowy scheme and increase the company's production capacity by another 2 megawatts. When complete, this project will turn the two dams basically into a giant battery. The mega project will be able to store about 175 hours of energy on a large scale. In terms of actual numbers, that'll be enough to provide 3 million homes with enough electricity for a week. Now, you might be wondering if something like this is even possible, and we're here to tell you it is. Not only is it possible, but it's also tested technology. Snowy Hydro has already pumped hydro capabilities at the Tumut 3 power station. The Tantangara and Talbingo dams will be connected via an underground tunnel with a diameter of 10 meters, as high as a 3-story building, and measure 17 miles or 27 kilometers in length. They estimate that the entire project will cost approximately 12 billion Australian dollars or 8.2 billion US dollars. Now, construction began 5 years ago in 2019, when giant machines began excavating the major underground tunnel at Tantangara. By 2023, they had already spent 4.3 billion Australian dollars. Engineers expect this mega project to be finished in 2027, with full operation of all units beginning in December of 2028. If everything goes according to plan, the power plant's first power will be generated in late 2024. When fully complete, it will supply 2.2 gigawatts of capacity to the current Snowy Hydro scheme and offer a capacity of 350,000 megawatt hours. As such, it's the largest renewable energy project underway in Australia today. The large underground tunnel will have a hydroelectric power station built over 2,500 feet or 800 meters underground. Since one of the dams is over 2,200 feet or 700 meters higher than the other, the tunnel underground will fall at a 25-degree angle. The company chose to build this power station underground because they didn't want to interfere with the natural landscape of the national park. The power station underground will be 160 feet or 50 meters high. Its length will measure 800 feet or 250 meters and will be 80 feet or 22 meters wide, meaning the project won't take more than 0.01% of the total park area. Inside the power station, there will be 6 reversible Francis pump turbine and motor generator units. Half will have synchronous speed and the other half will have variable speed. The output of each engine will be 333 megawatts. The beautiful thing about these turbines is the fact that they're reversible, turning the two dams into a closed system of hydroelectric power. In simple terms, water will flow from the Tantangara Dam, which is located higher, and it will flow directly into the lower Talbingo Dam. Under normal circumstances, the water slowly would be passed through a turbine that spins a generator to make electricity. But Snowy 2.0 is different. Thanks to the giant reversible turbines, it can send water upstream, which means the same water can be used to generate power more than just once. Snowy 2.0 is looking to build an incline pressure shaft, which will pass water to the Tantagara Dam's upper reservoir. The IPS will measure 33 feet or 10 meters in diameter, have a length of 1 mile or 1.6 kilometers, and climb at a 25-degree angle to Tantagara from Talbingo. As Snowy Hydro put it in their prospect, for example, if the wind is blowing in the middle of the night when consumers are asleep, Snowy 2.0 can use the wind energy to pump and then store the water in the upper dam. When households wake up and the demand for energy soars, Snowy 2.0 can quickly generate energy for the grid. Now, to excavate the tunnels underground, Snowy Hydro uses a tunnel boring machine, or TBM. In the simplest terms, TBMs are a drill bit the size of a building. These giant boring machines can clear 15 meters of rock, dirt and rubble every 24 hours. It also takes the rock debris from the excavation work through a complex system of built-in conveyor belts. And at the very end, it has a built-in machine that places pre-built concrete segments that will later become the walls of the tunnel. To build this mega project, Snowy Hydro has partnered with WeBuild, an Italian group that is responsible for major infrastructure projects at home and globally, including the construction of the new Rome subway. On the surface, the power station will connect directly to the Hume Link transmission line, and it's precisely these overhead power lines that cause major problems for Snowy Hydro. Environmental activists point out that Snowy Hydro promised to have the 2.2 megawatt expansion built by 2021 for only $2 billion Australian dollars. The project was supposed to have a minimal environmental impact while providing renewable energy to the taxpayer. Unfortunately, things changed since then. Kosciuszko National Park is one of Australia's most beautiful areas of land with cultural significance for Indigenous people and Australians. Some of the animal species and plant species are only found in these Australian Alps. However, Snowy 2.0 is changing all of that. They're destroying an area of land stretching for more than 17 miles or 27 kilometers. Hundreds of acres of forest land have been wiped clean, destroying the home of 14 endangered animal species. Now, other pumped hydro projects are built very close together. This one has 2 dams that are separated by almost 20 miles or 30 kilometers of land. This will lead to inefficiency of the plant because 1/4 of the energy generated will be lost with the pumping generation process. Just the construction alone will produce over 5 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions. About 100 football fields of the park will be covered with 10 million tons of construction spoil from the excavation work. There are currently 7 construction sites on the 17-mile stretch of land. To make matters worse, the giant drilling rig failed just 500 feet or 150 meters from the construction site. And despite all of these dangers, the New South Wales government amended the proposed conservation plan of the national park, and Snowy 2.0 continued as planned. They've even allowed 4 overhead transmission lines on 2 sets of towers standing 250 feet tall to be built in the area so they could transport the generated electricity. To build them, a 5-mile long, 660-foot wide pathway was cleared to make way for the towers, erasing a major chunk of the prime sub-alpine landscape. So what's the solution? Well, as Jamie Pittock, professor at the Fenner School of Environment and Society, pointed out in an article, the New South Wales government could begin by restoring the alpine catchment and removing redundant infrastructure, which could restore water yield by 10%. Then they could rehabilitate the damaged sites with only $100 million of government funding, but only $32 million has been allocated. With the remaining $70 million, 200 sites could be remediated. Then they could remove feral animals and weed control, which were introduced by the original Snowy scheme. Then they could work on restoring the alpine rivers, which would generate more water for the hydro plant. And finally, by minimizing the overall environmental impact of Snowy 2.0, they could build an environmentally friendly Snowy 3.0. But do you think a private company like Snowy Hydro will invest its profits to save the environment? Tell us in the comments down below. Now, here's another video mega project enthusiasts enjoyed watching. Bye for now.